Hello and welcome to the Bee Formless Flow Driven CEO podcast. I am here today with Jolly Nanda, all the way from Minneapolis, where it's Tuesday evening, 6 p.m. roughly, and it's Wednesday morning here. So, welcome to the show, Jolly.
Well, thank you for having me, Bee. It's
No,
great
thank you.
to be
I
on.
shouldn't say all the way from Minneapolis because Australia is is so far away from everywhere else in the world, right? And yet here I am saying all the way, where it's really like you should be saying you're all the way, like it's quite a trip to fly over to the USA or to Europe for us. And yeah, quite often we'll hear people like say, "Oh, it's so far to travel. Like I'd love to get to Australia." Anyway, that's a completely separate conversation. But
On my list. It's on my list. I haven't been to that. That's, I think, the one of the few continents I haven't been.
yeah, we have to come. You have to come to Australia. It's a cool place. But anyway, that's not what we're here to talk about today. I'm very privileged and grateful to chat with you today. And I'm really interested in going into your backstory. And you were just talking to me about your name and what your name means. And I was just saying to you before the show that it sounds like you were born to do what you're doing with your business and the impact and change you're making in the world for the better. So you're the founder and CEO of Althea, which is focused on unlocking and humanizing healthcare data to improve patient outcomes. You've got a background spanning technology, product, and operations in healthcare and beyond. You've led interoperability and change initiatives, and you still have, and you built it a while ago, but you still have it as a separate consulting business, which is Vic Ritty Management Consulting. And from what I understand, Vic Ritty, and I think I've probably not pronounced that right, is change for good. And then your name Jolly is, such a bright name, so it all kind of interconnects for me. Althea is a predictive health and it's been recognized in industry programs and spotlights. Tell us about your journey, how you became a founder and CEO. Where were you previously? Yeah, tell us a bit about what's been happening.
Yeah. So, you've kind of my background is it was in technology. And when you're in technology, I think because it's meant to solve business problems, you can flex from, one industry to another. And I was very fortunate to get into SAP and was doing, large implementations for manufacturing and ended up in a small startup, which was a high-tech retail. And and that's what landed me here in Minneapolis. And this was many, many moons ago. And that led to someone that I was working with at the time was work, basically got recruited and moved into United Health Group, which is one of the largest employers
Mm.
within the state here. And so she tapped me and it's like, hey, I think you'll really like it here, come check us out. And so I did, and it was so different. It was just so fascinating that you can go to a vet or even a dentist, right? And you can walk out with, you pay your portion of the bill and you know exactly what services you got. It's all settled. But when you go for your own health care,
Mm.
it just isn't that way. And
Yeah.
so I was just fascinated by why is it, so hard? And so, people keep saying, hey, but it's a service business because when someone comes in, you really don't know what they want or need and how much time. And so it makes sense because, when you even go in to get your haircut, it's a service business and the time depends on what kind of haircut or what other services you may
Yeah,
want in here.
totally.
So made sense to me, somewhat. But then it's like, okay, well, but retail can, change all, exchange all this data. Manufacturing has all of this, automation. Why can't we do it in healthcare? Why can't we simplify it? So anyway, I stayed at United Health Group for almost, I think for 13 years. And then during that journey, had my own health experiences as a patient and the interactions. And it just led me to kind of step back and think about what a horrible experience it must be for someone that doesn't know healthcare,
Yeah.
ends up having an episode where they have to immerse themselves in it, and they're asked for all of this data that they now have to grab across the ecosystem and participate in their health. And when you're already not feeling well, that's a huge, huge, huge thing to ask of
Yeah.
an individual.
Yeah.
And so that was, in my mind, that I wanted to build something, but I kind of wanted to first kind of just almost decompress and think about what I wanted to do with that, right? And so I started the consulting company because I'm also passionate about people and change, because I really believe, when you think about what things work, and when things work and work well, it's because of the people,
100%. I could not agree with you more.
right? And if it does not work well, it's because, you didn't align the people.
Mm.
There wasn't change management. So I think, back of my mind, I was like, okay, let's start there and let me kind of let me prove out sort of things that I'm playing around in my mind in terms of, methodology and thought process of how do you think about training people, and when you're rolling out strategy or technology, what level of communication and alignment you need to have to make it work right. Um, so from that, obviously I was very successful, and, the company still is doing really well. And from that, and I think I
Sorry,
started that
Dolly.
in
Sorry, Dolly. Can
2015.
I ask? Can I ask a question there? Just if
Sure.
you don't mind. When were you in the healthcare space with regards to the consulting company? So you were testing out the model in healthcare, and almost like all your ideas in, or was it more general than just
It
healthcare?
was more general. It was, again, it was across different industries,
Yeah, right.
because it is really industry agnostic, right?
Yeah,
So, we've done several programs and projects within healthcare, and in multiple different areas, like the payer side, the research side, the provider side, and also in like the energy industry, in the retail industry. Um, but the problem's the same, like the underlying problem around, how things are rolled out, how people are brought in to talk about it,
yeah,
to get the buy-in, and how support is provided. People in a nutshell, just want to be heard,
yeah. 100%.
right?
Yeah, agree. Yeah, yeah. It's part of
And
the problem when it comes to change, and you cannot implement change through a PowerPoint or through a document. I've quite often seen businesses where they think, well, we've got it all, we've got the plan here. It's all here on paper. Why isn't it working? Why isn't this
yeah,
transformation? It's like, my gosh, really? Like it's
yeah,
bring the people on board, it's all of that. It's like you can have as much, systems and processes in place, but at the end of the day, if your people aren't engaged and they're not championing the change, how do you expect it to happen?
yeah. It doesn't work
No.
because, once they're not the champion, or if they get if they feel like they weren't heard, right? They're not going to get on board. They
No.
will continue to do what they were doing.
Yeah.
If they feel that they were heard, and you provide it doesn't have to be like, hey, you incorporate all of their feedback. Sometimes you can't.
Mm,
Sometimes it's just showing them your perspective and
mm,
kind of just getting them on board,
mm.
right? and just providing an explanation of why something is needed,
Mm,
right? But in the absence of providing an explanation or providing a forum for them to be heard, they will dismiss what you're trying to achieve.
mm.
So why not just, start there, start with the people first.
And do you see that as still like, I mean, obviously you've got your focus is more on LTR, but you've obviously still got, your consulting company is still, like you said, super successful, doing really well. This is probably an interconnected question, but do you still see a lot of barriers to change, a lot of barriers to, there's a resistance? Like, do you still see a lot of broken down businesses, etc., where it's like we're still we're still looking at change in the old world versus this new world we're in now. And you're obviously from a tech perspective. There's so much we are doing with tech as a tool, etc. But yet we're still trying to do change in a way that is just not fitting the new world order anymore.
Ex-
Because that's what I see. But it's just like,
Yeah,
how do you take those
yeah,
businesses or the people on the journey to get them to shine a light up to them that it's not going to work the way you've always done it anymore. You have to take some
yeah.
calculated risk. You have to try some new ways of implementing change. Like,
Right, right. So, I mean, um, I think you bring up, this really big topic of like the acceleration of change
mm,
has become so much faster,
mm,
you know,
mm,
now,
mm.
especially in the digital and the AI world. Um, and people, with tools that are coding, from text and generating videos and images. I mean, you can do a lot, and improve your own process, within your own little world,
Yeah,
right?
your own
Or
little ecosystem.
yeah. But again, you can continue to do that, but if it's not done in a way where, hey, if it's touching not just you, but it's touching someone else and you haven't brought them in, um, it still may not work because it's the same issue exists.
Mm,
Explain to me why you thought you needed this. Well, and now explain to me now, especially with AI, well, explain to me what data went into it and how do I know that the data that's in there is the right data,
mm,
accurate data,
mm.
right? So those questions have to be answered because if you can't answer those and in a fashion that the other person across the table believes that oh, okay, you did think of this, you do have the right data, all right, let me try it, right? Then you've got them on board at least. But if you don't even make that attempt and you just say, okay, well, I'm just going to make this tool because I think it's going to make your life easier and mine, and I'm just going to implement it, um, it's just not going to work unless you got their feedback of, was my perception of making your life easier truly there was the problem that I was trying to solve, was it even a problem for you,
Yeah, it's
right?
so true,
Uh,
isn't it? It's back to really understanding the human, like, and it's like how, and I want to pivot now to the healthcare and how then you got into, more like niched into healthcare because, this is kind of, you can get all the data you like, even when it comes to from a change perspective, because there's always the surveys, the questionnaires around, but then, you quite often see that the data's the data, but then you've still got to actually interact and communicate with the patient, with the people to
right.
to then put a actual human, I guess,
Context.
yeah, human lens, human context over the top of it. Because otherwise you've got data and then you've still got
Without the context.
without the
Exactly.
context. So it's putting the two together, isn't it? And then making an
Exactly.
informed decision to be able to go, okay, so the data says this, the people are saying this, yes, they've done the survey, or questionnaire or whatever. But this is actually what we now how we need to solve this problem.
Exactly. I
Yeah.
mean, ditto, right? I mean, it's the same thing in every industry,
Yeah.
right? And healthcare is the same, except the problem with healthcare is there's a lot more of the data, and it's fragmented. It's spread across because we're no longer, um, you know, I would say, kind of just stay in one city or one location. We're very mobile,
Yeah.
right? And and by us just being mobile, our data is spread across.
Mm.
And and when it doesn't come together, right? When the physician is in the room with you trying to, give you a diagnosis because they don't know who you are, right? Everything is now so transactional, so episodic, right? Gone are the days where, the physician and knew you because, they came from the same community, they knew your parents, they knew kind of how you lived. But, now that's not the case. You go to any retail healthcare setting, you do telemedicine. Your primary care spends about less than 15 minutes in the office, visiting with you.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? I mean, I'm grateful. I've got a doctor that I have been seeing for years, so he knows me intimately, and but like if I ever have to go to an emergency doctor over the weekend, I definitely notice the difference because it's like, okay, it's like I actually raised it
Yeah,
last night. I said to Mama, I need to go and see. I won't name my doctor's name, but I need to go see him because I had something happen the other weekend and it's just not, it hasn't fixed itself. So it's just like, it's nothing sinister or anything like that. But, it's just the little things where you just like, he probably would have given me an extra prescription or whatever. Whereas this doctor's like, no,
yeah,
let's do it this way. Whereas my doctor knows me intimately. So he would have known how
yeah,
to, and it would have been fixed immediately. You know what I mean? He would
exactly,
have changed
exactly.
it. Yeah. So there's
Yeah,
definitely, yeah.
because they see patterns, and then like when you are talking to them, they pick up because they know you. They know how to take what you're saying in context, right? And when you don't have that context, and you just have maybe pieces of data, not even all the data struck together, you just have pieces and parts, there's no way. I
Mm.
mean, I always say that, they're making an educated guess at best, right? Because, and I am surprised that there aren't more mistakes and misdiagnosis than there currently are. I mean, I always say, at least in the US, and I think this is a global issue, um, but in the US, 12 million people are misdiagnosed yearly.
Wow. It's a huge stat.
Yeah. And out of that, like 800,000 have something like very significant happen to them, resulting in death or
Yeah, it's
like,
huge, isn't it?
yeah.
So talk to me about the positive impact, right? So in terms of, so you get the data, you then unlock it in terms of humanizing the data. So how do you then work with businesses and companies? Like, yeah, how does it work?
Yeah. So our SaaS platform, Acuvia, is basically rolled out, via a third-party risk-bearing entity. So it could be um, a self-funded employer that's rolling it out to its
Hmm.
employees.
Hmm.
Um, or it could be an accountable care organization that's doing value-based care. So they are rolling it out to their patients. Or it could be a care management company that's contracted by, any of these, healthcare plans, providers, health systems or self-funded employer groups to manage a population,
Hmm.
right? And so we roll this software out, and then we onboard the users of the software or the SaaS platform, and they provide us consent. And after the consent, we use that consent and go grab their data from the ecosystem. But we also allow them, depending on, we're meeting them where they are, if they feel comfortable with technology, and if they have data themselves, they can upload it, right? It just speeds up the process, right?
Mm,
Um, if they feel comfortable and if they remember who all they saw or have seen before, we provide area where they can enter all of that if they want. And if we have that, just makes our search, go faster, and we go grab it. But we also walk them through um, entering additional data that provides context.
mm,
So all your demographic information, of course, when you set up your profile, but sort of how your family unit is, your major life events you've had, all of the past addresses that you've ever lived at. But instead of just asking and just expecting everyone to just give us the information, we know that that's not always going to happen.
mm,
Some people, if you give them enough information about how you're going to use the data, they will provide it,
mm.
right? Some people will not provide it, but will want to do a wait and see of like, okay, let me see how it is without that, and then I'll add it. So we kind of are flexible, but we explain why we need it.
Mm.
And we allow you to put in all of your family medical history. So you know how hard it is I mean, I know here where we have systems like Epic and Cerner and others, that the patient's not able to go into the portal and update their family
Yeah.
medical history, right? It's done annually or whenever, you go see a provider. But between that time, you have your siblings, you have your parents, you have your uncles and aunts and grandparents. Health is happening daily, right?
Yes,
Things are
100%. Yeah.
changing,
Yeah.
and that information doesn't get captured. And it is so relevant to how your body is going to also, because that's what your DNA is made
Yeah,
up
it's
of,
really
right?
interesting.
So
It's really interesting because you're talking about here constant change in our physical human bodies, right? And but you're also talking about the constant change of as we age, as we grow, capturing that information. So it's almost like this continuous
it is
change
continuous
platform,
change.
continuous change tool, and ensuring that it's real time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
And
love
it's,
it.
yeah. And it's basically what it does then, it provides a whole person view into you,
Yeah.
right? And it's yours, right? It is for you, the consumer. And then we use that data with your consent. We create risk profiles across chronic diseases.
Mm,
That way, you're um, at least aware of what your risks are.
yeah.
And if you want to share that risk, with your care manager or with your provider to then get, better care, that's what it's there for. If you want to send all of your consolidated data, if you have a chronic disease, you go from one specialist to another, you always have to have that history, and it's very hard to get and very hard to get to them ahead of your appointment,
Mm,
right? So that it's actually a meaningful discussion. Imagine, when we're in a corporate setting or any work setting and you have a meeting, you're expected to come prepared for that meeting. And the other party that's coming to that meeting is expected to prepare for that meeting. But in healthcare, the provider has 4 to 5 minutes, kind of, and they have their laptop, they're trying to figure out what's in your chart, walking in. And you're not really prepared because you don't have the tools to be prepared.
no.
You just
This is
know how you're feeling.
mm,
So then it's very like you're asked questions, and then you're the one that's talked to about, what you need to do.
Mm.
It's not really a conversation, a collaborative
Conversation.
discussion
Yeah.
around
Yeah, it's
how,
transactional, like you say.
yeah, how
Yeah.
am I going to manage my care,
Yeah. It's
right?
really
What do you think what do you think is going to work, and what is out there more innovative that could help?
so
But
Jolly, do you think is this a way of breaking down that barrier to like for example, change in terms of like as a patient, there's that fear of, trying this or trying that, especially if you've got a chronic illness or whatever. So is it almost like this, is your model ultimately a way in terms of breaking down the resistance to change, the fear to change? Because you can apply that across
yeah.
multiple sectors, industries.
Yes. So if you look at it, it's about, first of all, is if you think about change, when you are in the know, you accept things,
Mm,
right? So it's about health literacy. If you know about your own health and your own data and you can look at it and you know what's there, then when you're having a discussion about it, you're more accepting,
mm,
right? Um, so I think it starts there. And then I think as human beings, if there is something that's going to happen, um, being able to be told sort of like, what do you expect, right? What to expect next, and how will this progress, or how will this not progress, or if I do this, those types of things is very important to um, the patient to get on board with their own care plan
mm,
and to be able to follow it, right? Because they're changing their lifestyle or their
mm.
diet or all of the above.
And is anyone
And
else doing this, like in terms of you from a from what your business has created? Is this like a first to
so
market? Yeah.
so we are so all of our competitors are doing pieces and parts. Um, I think we have designed our platform very much to service the patient, but with the concept of that we're going to meet the patient where they're at, and we're going to meet the providers where they're at. So we need to support, and I'm going to give you an example of this before I say it. So, like right now, everyone's basically saying, "Hey, we can send data, we can receive data," but they're either all trying to do it electronically or they're still doing it, manually. No one's like blending different options to say, "Hey, until change management occurs, so a health system can implement a platform that is all electronic all the way, right?" But when you go to the end clinic, the change management of the clinicians that are working there, the front office staff, may not have all transpired yet.
Yeah.
So, me as a patient, when I go there and I say, "Hey, can I have my health records?" They're like, "Oh, where can I fax it?" Right? So, you need to be able to support all of those interactions, all of those different scenarios.
Yeah, it's very non-linear, isn't it? It's connecting all the dots in a very non-linear way, like in terms of it's not just from A to B. Like it, like we've lived in this world for so long where it's like we go from A to B, but nothing is A to B, and I don't think it ever has really been. And so
Yeah.
it's like how do you connect all the dots so that it makes tangible sense?
Yeah.
Or
So we are still a startup. I must say that, B, is we are a startup. We got our first customer
Mm,
just live this month. And so we've done a pilot. Now we are in live with a care management company,
mhm.
and are going to grow. We're fundraising as well. But there are several other tools. I mean, so many other people have, the last mile tools, but they're missing the core data. So our philosophy is to grow via partnerships because what we want to focus on is the plumbing,
Yeah,
right? And
I love it.
how do we get all of the data and how do we address through our tool health literacy and health equity. So it's all about access. If you have your own data, you can try to get healthcare access anywhere because
Yeah,
it's all
yeah.
with you, right? Um, but then if we partner with the ecosystem where, you've got so many different tools now that address very specific things, right? Um, the neurodivergent,
Yeah.
space. There's so much things coming out for women health, being able to track fertility, being able to, sort of manage all of the things that happen with this, with your hormonal
When you
changes.
age, yes.
All of the, concierge medicine, right? That is very popular now with folks, but also, if you are a caretaker of not only your family, like your immediate family, your kids, if you're a mom, right, you're the one that's kind of taking care of that.
Mm,
You need some tools like that, but you also need other tools.
mm,
And so our goal is to find anyone that is wanting to partner with us to make this a reality, right?
mm.
We want to do that with. So.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. I've got two last questions for you. What would what does your business, it's obviously in its infancy startup phase, which is really exciting. What would you say it looks like in, the next 2 years in terms of redefining, reshaping, change, and what's possible for patients, but also healthcare, the clinicians, etc. Like what does that look like?
Um, so our vision is in 3 years, we expect to have, um, enough market share where we do have our marketplace that integrates with our tools so consumers can get basically personalized services from any of those vendors because they opt to share, pieces of their information through our APIs and say, I'm willing to give you this, but in exchange, I want personalized care,
Mm.
right? Or a personalized offer. So that is, where we want to be. And it happens today in, retail and everywhere else. But we also want to be able to allow the consumers to share their data with life sciences for research and really drive the diversity in data for research to truly happen, across all
Yeah.
the
Big,
diversity.
it's a big vision, but I can see you doing it. One, my very last question for you. What would be one piece of advice or a tip, excuse me, you would give a business across multiple sectors, whatever, that was going through change, but we're in a real roadblock and they're facing friction everywhere within the business? What would you, but they also had to keep the change going, but they were at a kind of almost like at a standstill. What would be the piece of advice, one piece of advice you would give them?
I think communication and figure out where your channels are for, that two-way communication. And it can't be, so a lot of people think communication is you telling the rest of the company what's going on. But this needs to be a two-way, hey, let's break this down. Let's have two-way discussion so that we can understand what the concerns are as well, and we can help really um, explain or maybe even adopt some of the changes that you are bringing to us, right? It needs to be that level.
Mm.
And once that culture is put in, where um, the culture of, hey, not all change will be successful, so we'll hear from you. We have ideas, you have ideas. Let's try, see if it works,
Test and learn.
then roll it out, right? So, I mean, we use agile in development of technology tools. Why can't we use agile in change management? Because it's really all about pilot the change, right?
Iterate, iterate. Yeah, I agree.
Quick.
Yeah. Yeah, I
And
call it relearn, just continuing to relearn, relearn, relearn. Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. Jolly, how do we find out more about you? How do we find out more about your companies?
Yes. I am on LinkedIn, so you can
Yeah,
go there, and it's just Jolly Nanda. There's very few people there with that name. And I have the company website, which is on for Althea. It is www, and I'll spell it for you, altheia.com. And then the consulting company is vikriti.com, vikriti.com.
yeah. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much, Jolly. It's been a real pleasure talking to you. My head's exploded a little bit in terms of everything that you've talked about and how you are reshaping data, connecting so much more closely to the people, and that inside out, for me, if you like, transformation is what you're ultimately doing. So I really appreciate your time. I'm going to let you get to your evening, your Tuesday evening. Have a wonderful rest of the weekend, and thank you for coming on the show.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. This has been a pleasure.
No, you're welcome, Jolly. Take care. Thank you.
Take care.